quick update. We've been pretty bad when it comes to putting out videos lately, hanging out, doing nothing. I shouldn't say doing nothing. I mean, I'm working, you're working, we're working, and we're doing this work online, so we're staying busy. But we thought we were going to give you guys a little update about Philippines, a little bit of Philippine travel, a little bit of what's going on, and
a little bit of information from all the other countries that I'm in contact with
right.
as well.
Yeah.
What's going on there as well.
Umberto works internationally with several different continents and in different countries, and we'll figure we give a little update, and we can start with Philippines,
Yes.
Where the government actually decided, I think last week, right?
Yes.
To open up for travel, domestic travel.
Domestic travel. Yes.
Domestic travel, and we'll touch on that. We'll touch on that first. Honey, what are you doing? What?
Wow.
Why are you doing that in the middle of this?
Because I need to pee.
And then go out and squat in the garage. Okay, I'm gonna put that in.
It was a very agile.
I'm gonna put that in.
It was a very agile.
Yeah. And I'm gonna make her do it again so I can put it on and show you guys what happened. All right?
It was really funny. Okay.
All right.
Let's go.
Okay. Well. All right. So this is a cut,
And start over again.
and we'll start over again from the get-go. Whew, I hate when that happens because I lose concentration and then I'll lose the train of thought and everything.
Well, we're talking about Philippines and the rest of the world.
Okay, so all right, so we'll start over again. Today we were just talking a little bit about what's going on with him. He works a little bit on many things, consulting, international markets. And we were going to do a little update on what's going on, really, and we'll start with Philippines. And one thing we said we were going to touch on from the get-go is that I get a lot of questions in here about when will they open for travel, how can we do it, when it's going to happen, and to be honest, we don't really know because there is one rule today and another rule tomorrow. There's been a lot of
difficulty is really figuring out that every region has the autonomy here to decide their own rules, even though the central government last week decided that they were open up travel for the domestic travel, yes.
Domestic travel, yes.
So, but then again, you have each region now has the autonomy to decide what each region is capable of doing. So let's say you want to go somewhere, and the federal government has allowed or opened up for everybody to go, but now they have given the local governments the authority to make their own rules. So I guess if you're going to travel,
if you're going to travel, yeah, you got to be you got to do some research before you do, even though officially I should be able to go from here to Bataan. We are on the same, and let me put that this way too. As long as you're under the same quarantine, the travel is allowed. If there is differences in quarantines, then there could be some additional restrictions. But for me, for instance, too, and I've been long talking about go down to Morong and Bataan and all that. So I did some research the other day, and yes, I can go to Bataan, but once you get into Morong town, the city of Morong, the mayor has decided to have his own rules. So closed down, you can't get in there. So that's a typical example of what could happen, unless something has changed in the last day. This was a couple of 3 days ago when I checked it. And now it looks like you know, you come there, you probably be denied and have to turn around and go back home.
On a local level, however, we've seen the checkpoints go from being very strict to now checking for, face mask and face shield. That's all really they're doing. They're not even checking for IDs anymore.
They stopped checking IDs. They are just making sure that motorcycle, cyclists and even pedestrians have their mask. And do you have to have the shield on still also?
The requirement is to have a face shield and face mask in public.
Right. So yeah. So they are enforcing that. Matter of fact, I was up to SNR earlier today, this afternoon, and you're not getting into SNR unless you wear both a mask and a face shield. So they won't let you in. I came there without it. So,
To come back.
but convenient, the security guards are selling that. They have a sidekick.
Ah, there you go.
So
Outside business.
they have a little sidekick. If you get up to SNR and you don't have a shield, go to the security booth at the exit out of SNR and they'll provide one for you.
You were mentioning also about Ilocos Norte.
Yeah.
Which is open.
Yeah, that's another thing with the travel that you have when you are coming to decide you want to go. There are several things that needs to happen before you can actually travel. One of the things, there is still testing required to certain regions, so you can't leave here and just go to the other place without have a negative COVID test and the travel permits and that kind of stuff. But they said they were going to take away travel permits, but again, they're asking for travel permit in certain regions, and so it's a little confusing. I remember one of the other bloggers here, a friend of ours, he spent a whole 9, 10, 11 hours one day just to get a permit to go up north for a few days, and that was a business trip. So it's very, very, very difficult. Ilocos Norte, for instance, I read yesterday in a couple of articles about it. Yes, they are now open for tourism and with restrictions. And if you don't check this out, you can end up getting turned back even if you have permits to get there. Because I saw that they're only allowing a group of 50 people in a certain area out there. And if that quota is filled, you're more than likely going to be denied access. So
200 people go, 150 people have
150
to return.
people have to return back home. That's the same thing, that goes on down in Boracay right now. Boracay has opened up for tourism, for local tourism and all that. But the tedious and strenuous and expensive for most people part of getting there is a test. A COVID test could cost as much as $7,000. I hear numbers like that to get that done. And if you have a family of 4, you need to test 4 people. That's $28,000 before you even start travel. So it could be very expensive to do so. So I don't know. Baguio has opened up again. If you go to Baguio, you need permits. You need
For people
clearance and travel
to
permits.
have their own vehicle, it's easier. There's really very few means of public transportation taking you anywhere at this moment. Although Philippine Airlines are flying their local flights,
Yeah.
you have to go through and do real good research before you get on an airplane or get on any type of transportation to go there.
And as far as international travel inbound from let's say U.S. or Europe or wherever you're coming into Philippines, it looks right now, and that can also change with at any moment, but it looks right now that they are talking about not opening up Philippines until the second half of 2021. So there
Sort of like Australia. Australia is talking about maintaining everything closed until the the third quarter of 2021.
third quarter, yeah. And it looks like Philippines is going to be there as well as a few other countries, while other countries are
Wide open,
Wide
and
open.
other countries that are wide open currently, for instance, Italy. I was in contact with 3 different people today in Italy, and they're talking about certain regions of Italy closing up again. They seem to have a bit of a flare-up going on, and so some regions are closing up. It's going to be like that. If there's a flare-up in an area, they're going to try to limit the access to and from. And you know, London, same one of the same things is happening over there. There's restrictions over there in London. Switzerland is open. Germany's open. France, some areas it's mostly open. Some areas have restrictions.
I saw some areas in Paris are actually starting to close down again a little bit.
Yeah.
It's flaring up.
So it looks like as long as COVID, you know, is still around or is going around, it's just like the flu. If it's going around, they're going to try to limit access to people and limit the flow of people.
Well, yeah, and you know, I'm actually not going out publicly with my thoughts about COVID, and you have some thoughts, and
well, our information comes from sources of information that are not public, and we just, for instance, okay, maybe you can edit it if you don't want to hear this.
Yeah.
However, but you know, if you have a certain number of deaths in 2018, total deaths, and in 2019 you have a certain number of deaths in 2019, and in 2020 the projections for the year don't reach those of 2018 or 2019, and there's supposed to be a pandemic, there's something funny, in my opinion. But then again, it's my opinion.
Yeah, it's my opinion too. You know, if we look at pandemics, there has been real pandemic. You had the Spanish in the early 1900s, and then you had in 1957, 58, you had the Asian flu.
Where the total number of deaths were certainly increased over the average, you know, the average death rate for those years.
Oh yeah.
Those pandemics,
Oh, yeah.
where there were
Those were
severely higher numbers.
Those were pandemics. You know, I was only 4 or 5 years old at that time, and you were not even born.
Yes, right.
But
I was not even born yet.
But you were not even born yet. But I was 4 or 5 years at the time, and I just spoke to my mother about it, and she said that they were severely sick, the entire family, including me, and the whole entire family.
And the death numbers on those years of pandemics, the total number of deaths super increased. You know, a high percentage of increase.
And I think the if you go back to 1918, there was 55 million people that actually died from that pandemic. And if you look at that, then you have serious number, because at that point there was only 1 billion people